Hi, my name is Dawn Everett, and I was asked to share with you ways that I use technology in the high school English classroom. Today I'll share 4 different assignments with you. First is a social media project that I use for various novels and plays. Secondly is an infographic. Thirdly, I'll talk to you about how I have my students film PSAs. And lastly, I'll share some examples of how my students have utilized the makerspace in the library, specifically working with the green screen. Let's get started. One of the first ways I like to get my students using technology is through a social media project. I like for students to think about social media as a means of communication, how social media doesn't necessarily communicate truth, and so this is an interesting way to get them to think about their own social media accounts and their digital footprint, as well as consider characters in a story. I've used this assignment for Anthem, which is what I'll be sharing today, and Of Mice and Men, Great Gatsby. I've also seen this used really well with some Shakespeare characters, so it has a lot of different uses. I would also think this might be a fun way to incorporate some technology in a history class, looking at historical figures' social media accounts. Anyway, so the assignment for our social media is to have the students create a social media feed for one of their characters. Now, I tell them that I want to see that character's home page, their home feed, not their friends' feed. Okay? And so I provide them a rubric, obviously, because I want them to know exactly what I'm looking for. And then I went on the internet and I just found these templates. Some of them are really good, some of them are not so good. I've had students use the templates. I've had students take the templates and change them up to make them more user-friendly, to make them look more like the social media account that they're working on. So students can do a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media account they want to do. And so I'll share a couple of them with you. This one is a Facebook account for Gaia, and so you'll see they've chosen a profile picture, and then we've got the feed, the character's friends feed. This is the character's profile page, and then this was some of the photos that this character posted. Another one is a Twitter. And so this was the profile picture, and then you've got the tweets here. And as you can see, I'm just scrolling through the Twitter feed, and so it doesn't really change that much. All they really had to do was go in and change the the characters' responses. So that's the social media assignment. Another assignment I have my students do is create an infographic. Now, an infographic is a chance for a reader to get a lot of information using high-impact graphics and very little text. It's almost like a visual puzzle for students. A lot of times students give some pushback on this because it's an unfamiliar form of digital communication. They really just want to make a slideshow or a Prezi, all of which are good methods of communication, but an infographic gives them an opportunity to practice a different type of digital tool. I like Piktochart, and so what I have my students do, and I always give them a rubric, okay, they were creating an infographic for their independent reading, and they had to include the 5 components of a novel: character, setting, mood, theme, and plot. All right, so here are a couple of examples. Now this one is for The Secret Life of Bees. And so infographics on Piktochart can be presented as a presentation, like this, or as one long feed, like this. And this was one for The Other Einstein by Marie Benedict. You've got a block for character, here's a block for setting, a block for mood, a block for plot, and then a block for theme. Now, ideally, students would choose background color and additional graphics that would be in line with the book's theme, the book's mood, that sort of thing. And then this is one for The Hobbit. Now, this is a good infographic, but there's a lot of text, and that kind of goes against the idea of an infographic. So, I do recommend always giving a rubric up front. My students were able to go back to the rubric and double check the work that they did based on what I would be grading them on. Okay, so that's an infographic. Next, I'll be talking to you about using PSAs. So this next project, a public service announcement, really turned out to be one of my favorite projects, and I'm looking for different ways to incorporate it in all of my classes now. The setup was we were talking about social media. We were talking about the impact of social media on people's lives and how a lot of times that can really, the social media can make people feel more lonely than what we realize. And so students were tasked with creating a public service announcement for an assigned audience that would encourage people to eliminate a lot of the social media in their lives. So this group, their audience was parents, and we had talked about how parents are the one group that really seems to watch their children or watch people through a lens. And so the idea here was to watch in person and not watch through the camera. So here's what they came up with.
Mom, did you see my video?
So you can see, there were some problems there, but the students really had a good time. And one of the things that I found very helpful was presenting them with a project guide. So they were able to not only practice their use of technology skills, they also had an opportunity to practice their leadership and teamwork skills in planning and making this production. The last assignment is a green screen assignment that was specifically designed to have students finish a story. So the last assignment I wanted to share with you today is a project I call Extending the Story. And what I like to do is have students take characters who normally would not interact with one another and put them in the same setting and see what happens. I might choose characters from different time periods, characters from different books, different plays, and then students have to really look at the motivating factors, what motivated those characters to act, and then see how that motivation would play out in a different scenario. So the clip you're getting ready to watch is from last semester's students, where they were having Medea from Euripides' play Medea and Oedipus from Oedipus the King. These two characters were going to interact, and we had talked about how both of those characters were really driven by their pride, their idea of success. You'll see that they are using the green screen, sometimes successfully and sometimes not, but they had a good time.
Medea, surely you've heard of me.
I'm sorry, my fair lady, but I never have.
Well, I'm betrayee of Jason, owner of the fleece, and I killed Creon.
Oh, wow, that is so powerful. Well, who are you? I am Oedipus, king of Thebes. I have killed my father and married my mother, and I have become blind.
That's pretty.
Now, I'm not exactly sure why Medea was suddenly Southern, but we did talk about crazy women, and if ever there was a place for crazy folks, it's in the South. You'll notice that the students were able to use the green screen. Miss Smith and the media assistants were very helpful in helping the students get organized and film their work. So give it a try. It does take a little time. Any of these projects really requires a teacher to give up a little bit of class time. But it's worth it on the end, because what students are doing is not just learning, how to communicate digitally, but also how to plan and lead in a team. And ultimately, that's one of the 21st century skills we should be teaching every day. All right, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. You all know where I am.